Creating a floor style from scratch is easy in Revit as long as you understand the principles about how a floor is actually constructed. And really that's what this video is all about, understanding those principles about how floors are put together. Now, in order to be able to do this, we're going to come up here to Structure and then select on the Floor tool. And it doesn't really matter if we do a structural floor or an architectural floor, which is just a structural floor without any of the actual forces and loads associated with it. But I'm going to pick floor structural here. Here we can see that we have a floor 3-inch lightweight concrete on 2-inch metal deck. Now, in order to be able to see the properties of this floor and understand better about how it's constructed and put together, all we have to do is move down here to this button that says Edit Type and click on that. Then the next thing is going to be Edit Structure. So always remember, you need to modify a floor, do Edit Type, then Edit for the structure. And this will bring us to the Edit Assembly dialog box. Now there's actually more to this dialog box than what we're seeing here on the screen. In fact, that's the reason why I clicked up here on the top and then just pulled it over to the side. It's because down here at the bottom there's this big preview button, and if you select on that, we'll see a preview of what this floor is going to look like if we would take a section through it. Now, this happens to be actually each layer material that's going to be associated, in this case, with this floor. By the way, if you ever have this material metal deck and that's what's selected, what this does is it'll automatically assume that this little bump structure here, which happens to be the shape of the metal deck when it's put into place, exists, and it'll automatically try to put that in your floor. The actual structural part of this happens to be the concrete, and we can see that it's currently listed as being 5 inches thick. If we wanted this floor to be thinner, we could. All we'd have to do is change this 5 to be something smaller, such as a 3, and then just click someplace else. And you can see how now this floor is much thinner. If we needed that floor to be thicker, we could do that as well. Now, what just happened here is that we can see that this is what's called the material browser. And it was brought up because I clicked inside of this concrete dialog box. What this does is that it allows us to change whatever material we want associated with this floor. So if we wanted a different kind of concrete, if we wanted to have steel or whatever, like in this case we can see the metal deck material, it would just be a matter of picking the appropriate material off of the list, and then that floor would be built out of that material when we model that floor in Revit Structure. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on Cancel this dialog box in order to be able to get out of it. There's also a function feature here, and right now it just says Structure, but you can see that there's different layers of material, and usually whenever we're dealing with this, it's probably always going to be structure for you related to floors. But these same different layers of materials are also available to you if you're going to be building such things as your walls. And for what it's worth, your walls have almost the exact same dialog box associated with them, and they're built the same way as your custom floors are. Essentially, it's one layer of material, then another layer of material, and another layer of material. Now, back specifically talking about floors, if we wanted this to be back to just being a 5-inch thick floor, we just type in 5 inches here. We'll need to click somewhere out in space in order to be able to make this actually get its thickness back again. If we wanted to have another layer of material placed on top of this, perhaps there's another thin layer of concrete, or maybe there was a flooring material on top of this, all you'd have to do is select on the Insert button right here. You would add another layer of material, which you could either move up to the top or down to the bottom by either hitting up or down. Then if we wanted to give this a certain thickness, we could. If we wanted to have another 2 inches of thickness associated with this, we just add perhaps a number 2 here, click in this box, and now you can see there's another layer of material. It doesn't know what it is yet because we didn't click in this by category box yet. If we wanted to add that layer of material, tell it that it's a certain layer, just click in here where it has material, and then pick off of the list whatever material you'd like to have associated with it. Now, I realize this is going to be a thick piece of carpeting, but I'll just select on that just so that you can see it. And you can see now that it has that carpet material on top of the floor. Well, in this case, I don't really want to make a change to this particular floor, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and click on Cancel. But if I like the changes that were made to the floor, technically I could just click on OK and it would save those changes, and any place that floor would appear inside of our structure, would automatically have those materials added to it. In this case, though, I like my floor the way that it is, so I'm just going to click on Cancel. One last thing I wanted to mention is that changing those properties inside of this dialog box, and you'll remember Edit Type, Edit Structure. What happens is that it'll change that for this particular floor, or whichever one you currently are editing, throughout the entire project. Oftentimes, that's not what you're going to want to have happen. Most of the time, in fact, you're probably just going to want to create a floor essentially from scratch. In order to be able to do that, all you have to do is come up here to Duplicate, click on Duplicate, give that floor whatever special name you want to give it, something that makes sense, something that indicates what the structure of the floor would be. In this case, I'm just going to call it Example. You'd click on OK, and then go to Edit Structure, and then add or subtract materials as need be. So when it comes time to customize your floor style, just remember you have full control over all of its properties underneath Properties, Edit Type, and then Edit Structure.